quit notice off. So anybody can do that.
But let me ask you, in addition, assuming Biafrans have their way, becomes a sovereign state or an independent state country, would that warrant quit notice? Wouldn't they continue to enjoy what they have made or acquired anywhere in Nigeria?
That goes again to another serious problem, the federal structure of Nigeria. I must say that the Igbo spirit is already established in Biafra. The Igbo spirit. It's like that Igbo spirit has emerged to possess some of these agitators. Indeed, I want Nigeria to look into something very important. We have this automatic saying in Latin, cessante causa, cessat effectus. So if you make a reference to conditional propositional logic, if there is what they call the antecedent, the consequent must follow. So when the cause goes as the antecedent, the effect as the consequent must follow. So we should not be busy chasing the effect, leaving the cause unsolved. Nigeria has so many problems, and we must solve them. See, must look Nigeria in the face and solve all the problems of Nigeria, and not just war against the effect. Of course, no one war can put an end to all wars. And I think the supreme art of war is to win without conflict. Without conflict. And there's no good war. There's no good war. Just as there's no bad peace. So I will put on record, Bona forevermore, whether people like it or not, someday, somewhere, somehow, Biafra must be established.
And if that happens,
no one can kill.
If that happens, are they supposed to lose whatever that they have made or acquired anywhere in the world?
I'm still coming to that. Yes. So I want to establish both for now and forevermore that someday, sometime, somewhere, somehow, Biafra must be established. Because it deals with the Igbo spirit. In the Igbo spirit. So we say that no one, so no one can advise for unnecessary war. But the only thing I want to establish must be this, that the Igbos may not lose what they have. But even if it comes to losing what they have, you see, you made it clear that even though the Igbo people are migrant in nature, but you see, the level of resilience and the industry is unprecedented. So they can still make out such achievements again. Yeah. See, there's what they call this spirit. In the Igbo spirit, there's what they call this idea of providing for all occasions, still pursuing, still achieving, learning to labor and not to wait or to be stopped. So it's there in the mentality of the Igbo person, a natural inclination. So what I will say, I will say that this whole idea of, you talked about restructuring, this whole idea of restructuring. You see, we have, first of all, to ask ourselves the fundamental question, whether Nigeria is a true federalism. And whoever knows anything at all about Nigeria, we know that that question must be answered in the negative. For instance, it's not even a confederalism, where you have a loose connection of sovereign nations or states with a kind of common political...
Strong states and
a kind of, yes, common political organs, without any, if you like, a meaningful central authority. Yeah. But then, in terms of federalism, there's always this kind of power sharing between a national government and the state government or political units. See, so that kind, the base of the people or their custom or their tradition, according to the form how they live their life, according to the way they move, live, and have their being. So that's why it is not a one thing for everybody. That's the problem. It's not one thing for everybody.
There is this fundamental human rights that is being seriously abused in Nigeria. Freedom to personal life and property, freedom of speech, freedom of association. And here in Nigeria, you find that people don't enjoy their freedom, such as Nnamdi Kanu is asked not to associate, not to speak, restricted to a number of people, and then he is going to associate with, and they're restricted to how he's going to speak.
Otherwise, they will arrest him.
Which abuses his fundamental human rights. So all this kind of stuff. Now you see up north there, the cattle rearer carries AK-47 to rear his cows. Unlike in those days when I remember a small boy, I used to see them carrying long stick on their shoulder. This day, you have AK-47, they enter farmlands and destroy farmlands. But should anybody down here try such thing, the person is arrested immediately.
That's why I have said, let us find out why people are agitating, the cause of their agitation. You find out that we are preoccupying ourselves with the effect. I have said, cessante causa, cessat effectus. If you treat the cause very well, there will be no effect again.
Yeah.
So I think this cause of injustice, cause of denial of freedom and right, have pointed to the Constitution. We have a record of so many constitutions in the past, but I think the Constitution is simply a kind of fundamental principle or precedence that can govern a state, a nation, or even an organization, and cannot be joked with. So I have to repeat again, both for now and forevermore, that we are equal before the law. We are equal before the law. We are all landlords and tenants. So no one can evict or eject the other by a quick notice that can grow from a headline to a deadline. It's impossible. Because even if that deadline comes to nothing, you cannot go to court. You may take arms, you may take up arms. And we have to be very careful about that. Even in that, I have to, if you like, warn all these youth fora. I have to warn all of them. But the IPOB, the MASOB, the Arewa Forum, the Udua National Assembly, and even the Niger. That the greatest way you can have victory is to win without fighting.
Yeah.
I think the issue of peace is sacrosanct. And in that reference, I may have to talk about this idea of, that's why, like, if you connect this agitation to the issue of the boycott of elections that is on right now.
Unless there is a referendum.
Unless there's a referendum. I'm still coming to that referendum. Now, if you clamor for boycotting the elections in Anambra State, don't we see that there's no connection? There's no connection between the agitation for the Biafra and the boycott of the elections. So I call, for instance, in philosophy, we call that categorical mistake, not categorical mistake, categorical mistake. Bringing together two things that are in different logical geographies. So let's be careful about that. As a philosopher and a logician, we must lead people to consistent thinking, correct thinking, plain living and high thinking. That's our work as philosophers.
Referendum in absence of election boycott.
For instance, when you talk about referendum, you have this word refero, from the word pharaoh. Re is a proposition which means back or again. Pharaoh has to do with carrying back, bringing back. In other words, when you say refero, you are bringing something back. So, a referendum is a kind of proposal to an agency who will control that and bring that back to the people. That's why they're asking for that referendum. Like you have this statement, propositum qui referendum est populo. It's a kind of give enough. So I have to, you cut off an aspect of what I wanted to establish. I want to make it very clear that if we go into good discussion we cannot avoid the fact that Nigeria has so many problems. Whoever knows anything at all, we must know that. I think we have to establish, first of all, this equality before the law, so that we know that whoever is a citizen of Nigeria has the right to make a demand and make his or her demand met.
I want you to add the principles of impartiality.
I've already said it, that before the law we are equal. I've said that it is just as unjust to treat equals unequally as it is to treat unequals equally. Please to make it so clear. So we cannot, if you like, go back again to that. So I have to make it so clear that when you want certain things, be consistent in your thinking. Leader, I want to establish this idea that truth as a function demands consistency. That's why you distinguish between fact and the truth. Truth has to do with wisdom, but fact may do with knowledge. It has no control. Truth has to do with understanding. That's what it has to do with God Himself. God Himself. Like in the directorate of Igbo village, where I am the director as an Igbo leader, the Igbo spirit has to do with that vital principle, that animating principle in the character and the form and the life of the Igbo man. And you see, it's not something that you can joke with. It is something that dominates by kind of natural inclination. So it is not something that can be killed or can be intimidated. So the Igbo spirit has emerged. That's why I said, whether we like it or not, someday, sometime, somewhere, somehow, Biafra must be established. We must do so with agreement. That's why I said all this are quick notice. There's no disagreement anywhere. There's no disagreement. There is no normal landlord-tenancy agreement. That's why I said, so the deadline first, as a headline. You cannot go to court. Rather, you can take up arms and start fighting. Yeah. So that's the problem. So let us, if you like, that's why when language goes on holiday, people misunderstand themselves. Let us not send language on holiday by making categorical mistakes.
There is this news that if there is no election, should IPOB succeed in impeding the election, two things may happen. One, state of emergency, where people will not, feel comfortable with what may happen. Some people say the Speaker of the State House of Assembly will take over. So I want you to make comments on this.
I must say that those who make a peaceful revolution impossible must make the violent revolution inevitable. But even at that, you have to apply reason. You have to apply reason. And like I have said, I will advise Kanu precisely and the other Igbo groups. People are afraid, or they are wondering why Kanu has a large followership. That's the Igbo spirit. It's not something that you can joke with. You have to ask, why are people following this young man? Why? Why are people following him? So be careful with the young man. But you see, I have to advise Kanu, this whole idea of going from. So we have to be very, 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 very sensitive to matters. See, but this idea of violence and whatever, no, I'm against it. For instance, I know about what they call satyagraha. Satyagraha is the principle of non-violence, which spanned between Mohandas Karamchand, Mahatma Gandhi, and Martin Luther King Jr. So it is a way of resolving something. Even though one can say, you may not take it so far to what a poet once said. The poet said, "Send your dear calm and resolute, with folded arms and steady looks, which are weapons of unvanquished war. And if the tyrants there, let them ride among you there, slash and stab, maim and hew, What they like, that let them do. With folded arms and steady looks, with little fear and less surprise, look upon them as they slay till all their rage dies away. You find out that you may not wait till the rage of an aggressor dies away, because at the end of the day, there may be nothing left again to protect. So let us, if you like, it's a kind of organic synergy. See, let us come together, talk about certain things that can help us, and see their possibilities. See, we must believe in possibilities. We cannot believe in impossibilities.
You may not wait until something
everything is destroyed,
goes away. Sometime before the Civil War, there was this statement that the Quran is going to be dipped into the Southern Sea. There is this action again that the Fulani man does whatever he likes on people's arrested. The hate speech, they quit notice on the Igbos, the order for the arrest of the Arewa youths. We've not heard of a single arrest, but the Kanu should be rearrested for ordering words and associated with it.
Those who issue that quit notice should all be arrested.
Father, the issue is that none of them has been arrested. You are talking about equality here. So people are being treated unfairly. That is part of why Nigeria needs to be restructured.
That's the endemic corruption.
So from where do we start this restructuring, Father? If you are talking about restructuring, is it the abuse of the fundamental human right? Is it the wanton destruction of lives and property?
By the way, what are you restructuring?
That is the issue.
What are you restructuring? We must, first of all, go into the level of attitudes, habits, principles, and do this restructuring there first, before we come even down to the geopolitical regions and do the restructuring. And I wonder really where we are going to with that restructuring. Because if you look into how, for instance, look into this issue of when you have regions in protectorates, then the regions, and then the province, the states. So you find out that, are you now saying we should go back to the idea of the regions or to the protectorates or to whatever? So I think it's something difficult. And you see,
or whether the whole Nigeria
the greatest problem is this power sharing. See, let power, I think, let us snowball and dovetail the issue of restructuring to the issue of power sharing between the national government and the state governments. I think that's where we should address. Because some of these state governments, without the things that come from the national government, they're nothing.
Of course.
They're nothing. And you see, they kind of corrupt. You see, when they get these things, they eat that anyhow.
And in some states, when they embark on any project that is supposed to be that of the federal government, they hardly receive the money back.
For instance, this whole idea of the federal roads, it's a limbo. It's a complete limbo. So that I think even, for instance, in Anambra State, you have such roads.
Many of them.
I think the states should do something about those roads. So waiting for
even
a chimera.
Even the ones they've done.
So waiting for a chimera.
The governor keep complaining that they are owed seriously by the federal government. The ones they have done, no payment, nothing. I don't know if it is the same thing with what is obtainable up there north and west.
I think they also are afraid of this whole idea of restructuring, because it was introduced the state police, for instance, and you see fight even in those ones. But it's not our problem. We should keep on trying tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Keep this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. So we cannot give up trial. So there's no harm in trial.
If you are listening to this program anywhere in the world, within Anambra State, in Nigeria, or outside the country, because we've made it to be universal, you can call us on 070 362 12861. I repeat, 070 362 12861. The topic we are handling is the Igbo quit notice, restructuring and referendum. And with me here in the studio is an authority in philosophy and metaphysics, the director, Igbo Village and Center for African Civilization. Hello, your name?
Of the problem of leadership in Nigeria. When Chinua Achebe wrote that the entire problem we have is simply a leadership problem, people think he's talking out of the point.
Your name and location, please.
I'm Desmond. I'm calling from Abuja.
You're welcome, yes.
Your contribution
or question?
Or question?
Father, good evening.
Thank you very much.
My comment is or question is on this issue of boycotting election, no election,
okay,
and no referendum, no election.
Okay.
I think make it open, speak it loud. Let our people understand that boycotting election will not help us. If we boycott the election, there will be nobody to speak for the government as a Biafran man. Let's say we will vote this man in, he will speak for us as a Biafran, then when he goes there, he will be speaking for Biafran. Then in the other states in the eastern region, let's elect Biafran people so that they will speak with one voice, and then our voice will even be heard more instead of boycotting the election.
It's a very important. Thank you very much. It's a very important contribution.
Yeah.
And the only thing is that I would want to advise the world about the use of the name Biafra, because you see, in the north they have made a kind of distinction between Igbo residents and Biafra agitators, and I want to establish both for now and forevermore that there are no different. See, you are talking about one reality.
Yeah.
And indivisible unitas, and undivided unity. You cannot divide the Igbo from the Igbo.
There's no Igbo, and there's no Igbo different from Hausa Igbo.
The Igbo is Igbo.
Some say they are Hausa Igbo.
The Igbo is Igbo. If you say you are Hausa Igbo or Yoruba Igbo, still Hausa Igbo and Yoruba Igbo, we meet in the word Igbo.
Yes.
They meet in Igbo.
Yeah.
So I want to clarify. See, for instance, that's what we call logical classification of terms and expressions. I want to clarify that word Biafra. The only thing is that if you have any problem with the word Biafra, you need to sort it out to yourself conceptually. It's not something that you can go about and be mixing up things here and there.
That's what I want to ask you, Father.
You see, it's a kind of a sovereign. For instance, the Biafran is an Igbo, and any other resident of whatever is also a Biafran. It's a Biafran. So let us not carry conceptual confusion to the term Biafra and its connotation and denotation. I think what the young man said, that's there was something he said which will get a Biafran man and have him at the government house. I think no. Let the election be free and fair. Indeed, I warn whoever would want to, if you like, go into evil in this election, the truth of God will come down heavily. The kingdom of God will come down heavily upon that person. Because God is truth. God is truth. Another serious thing that we need, if you like, to address is, like I have clarified the term, the issue of boycotting the elections and agitating for Biafra are not in the same logical geography. So to clamp them together is a categorical mistake. It's a misplacement of concreteness. And it will bring things that are not good. For instance, somebody said, oh, pardon me, that bleeding piece of the earth that I make and chant with these bushers. Thou art the ruins of the noblest man that ever lived in the tide of times. Over their wounds do I now prophesy, which like dumb mouths do open their rubby lips to obey the voice and utterance of my tongues. So a curse shall light upon the limbs of men, domestic fury and fierce civil strife. So you find out that anytime you take the option of war, I don't think it's a sane option, the option of war. The option of peace is better. There's no good war. And no one war will stop all other wars. War will always bring up another war. So, and you cannot get peace by force. It's not possible. That's why this idea of satyagraha, non-violent approach, that's again my regret in Nigeria. We have never had any servant leader in Nigeria. Somebody who has principles, informed, who has principles, and who would want to die for the people. We've never had that kind of leader in Nigeria. So I propose servant leadership to our leaders, even to the president right now.
How do we get that?
President Buhari. Servant leadership. You see, look at it. Anytime you talk about servant leadership, you are talking about somebody who knows it by feeling it. Somebody with a heart and a head. At times we have the head without the heart. At times the heart without the head. But we need leaders who have the head and the heart, who can bring up theories and principles, ideologies, who can propound ideologies, who are creative, and who can feel, who have the capacity to feel. Because when you cannot feel anything again, you are no longer a leader. You become a beast.
From what you are saying, if somebody is acting on a scripted piece,
Good.
governor or president from the point of religion, trying to actualize an agreement unknown to others that are led. Because I wanted to ask you, as a philosopher and a theologian, you know about religion.
I will tell
Are some religions out to destroy others?
I know where you are going to, but I must tell you the truth. One thing I don't like in politics is this idea of confusing the good reason and the true reason. The good reason and the true reason. For instance, a man may give you a good reason for an action, but that may not be the true reason. And if you can bring out that true reason, you see that you can even curse the man whom you have blessed with a good reason. With true reason, you curse the person. And whenever the true reason comes up, that true reason would have made any conclusion to be otherwise. So, and there is a problem with that true reason. Someday, sometime, somewhere, that true reason rises. It must rise. And anytime it comes up, there will be a problem. There will be a problem. And people will be confused. If you give a good reason. I give you an example that we saw. Let's leave out the issue of religion. But we know what you're saying. Supposing an owner of a firm invited people for interview. Maybe a young girl came in for the interview and did very well, 100%. The girl to a hotel. And the girl, being, if you like, sensible, will say, no, of my dead body. So, if this man now wants to give a reason for disqualifying that particular girl, he will never mention the true reason. He will never. If he mentions that true reason, people will sack him from the place. So he will just say that the girl is disobedient, and things like that. I will condemn somebody who is just.
Your name and location? Okay, go ahead. Your question and contribution. Yeah, thank you.
What I want to do is on the area of join the second part of the area of what you said. There is no possibility of taking
of what?
Louder.
There is no possibility of taking peace by force.
Yeah. It's okay.
Something here, the idea of what I say I was not there then. I have not been born there. Nigeria was amalgamated. Just the word amalgamation means that we are not the one before. We will agree together by force. Or by let us agree. But now, from that time until now, the people have not been one. Because I don't think that is the only reason. They're trying to make us to become peaceful with the people that are telling the defeat, are enemy to each other.
So there's no need for a forced unity.
They are enemy to each other. Everyone is demanding and forcing the Easterners. Easterners are saying, the other people are doing the other people are demanding. They seem to give them their demand. That is my opinion. Nobody is giving their demand. Their people are demanding for their God. Everyone is demanding for everyone is something. Do the one is demanding to do the one is something. Let it be to them. And let it be to go and the people.
So from your own point of view, there's no need for a forced unity.
There's no need for that.
Thank you.
He made it, of course, I made a point towards that direction. I said, whoever will make a peaceful revolution impossible will, by that very fact, ipso facto, make the violent one inevitable. But you see, well, of course, as a priest and as a scholar, I think the option of peace is always better. Like, as I said, and I think it is true, even the Irish people, they demand a republic, they do what the Igbo people and all that. In the Niger Delta, they all want this kind of secessions. But what I'm trying to say is this. Let us come together in a constitutional assembly, constitutional conference. Because it's the National Assembly that must amend the constitution that we bring out. You cannot do that without the constitution. We cannot do that without the constitution. And we must come together as a kind of consensus addendum or consensus communi. We have to come together. When we are together, for instance, there is this thing that John Donne made clear, that no man is an island entire of himself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the man. So if a cloud is washed away by the sea, the whole of Europe is the less. So as if a promontory were, or if a manner of thy own, because we fear the truth.
Why?
And unreal.
Why can't we come together?
We fear the truth.
Do we speak the same language? Do we have the same culture?
That's why, you see, all these hate languages all over the place. I think somebody wants to make that a crime. But you find out that we fear coming together. We fear speaking to each other. We have this fear of loving each other. I think there may be the need for 3 kinds of conversions in Nigeria: political conversion, religious conversion, and moral conversion. That's why I said, we are talking about restructuring. Let us restructure these things first. We now come to the geopolitical restructuring.
We restructure ourselves.
Morally, politically.
Okay, Father,
get
this now. The other used they accuse the Igbos of doing damage. They accuse the Igbos of doing damage to the collective nationhood than any other ethnic group in Nigeria. The Igbos are accused of doing damage to collective nationhood.
I think you have...
how true is that?
You have brought this matter into the area of metaphysics. And saw the blood of a human being crying to heaven for vengeance. And somewhere, I think Genesis 9 and verse 6, God made it clear that if a man kills a man, by man will his blood be shed. So that's why you can see that these rumors of war, these clamors of injustice and all these things, we have to be very careful. Because we don't own our lives. What do you call God? Allah, or you see, God is the owner of our lives. Because God is life. God is life. That's why the law of the spirit of life. So I will, anyhow you look at it, by any analysis, I will, to be sure and to be precise, make it very clear, both for now and forevermore, that peaceful approach will always be the best. I can never approve a violent revolution. I can never. Because war settles nothing.
But I don't think
war settles nothing.
Anywhere you go to in this country.
You see, I'm still coming to the question. I think the greatest crime Nigerians have made, let me not distinguish between Biafra or Ipoba, Arewa, or whatever. I think our greatest crime is that we somewhere killed our brothers. And it's a problem. We should talk about cleansing of blood again. So let us manage what. That's why I feel like the government should be thinking about how to cleanse what already has been done in the past. That's why I say we don't have any servant leader. But the servant leader will even put his blood to make sure that there is peace. But who can do that? Nobody can do that in Nigeria.
There's no Fajiyu again. All we have are tyrants and dictators.
The issue of the head and the heart must come together in a single leader. Somebody who can generate all these ideologies that we have from the West and from Asia. Let us have somebody in Nigeria who can evolve some of these ideologies that can change the country. That's why I said philosophers must come out, because it belongs to us to build ideologies.
Okay, philosophers must come out. Okay, let's take a message.
It's okay.
A message from
I wanted to say something. It's okay. Definitely.
From here, we close because it's 7 minutes to 5.
Talk about time close.
2 minutes to 5.
It's okay. But it's okay. But you give me a chance to say something. Before you close, can we put something very important?
I know. Still have up to 5 on anticipations. Hey, what's the gun called? Father, you know, our topic has been Igbo quit notice, restructuring and referendum, and in your capacity as the head Igbo village and center for African civilization, in a word of advice, I want you to summarize the 3 topics, because time is no more on our side. So we close.
I think something just came into my mind that Plato said. He said that there will be no end to the troubles of the state, or indeed of humanity, until philosophers become kings, or those who we now call kings, turned by some miracle into true philosophers. So I will just say that our problem will be to find a servant leader, not only for Nigeria, but also for the entire states in Nigeria, or to pray that by some miracle, those who now occupy these places will turn by some miracle into true servant leaders, who can even die for their sheep. That's all I want to say.
Okay, Father, I think you may have to tell us your next topic and then the prayer to mark the end of the program.
I feel that this topic definitely must have a second court, because we have not even done anything. I thank God we have scratched at it from a universal point of view. So I think sometimes somewhere I will have to go into the whole idea of also getting an ideology that can help us to come out of the quagmire.
Okay, there is Stevia. That has been Very Reverend Father Professor Bonachristus Umeogu, an authority in metaphysics, in philosophy, of course.
We have to say a word of prayer, very, very important.
Okay.
Holy Father, Holy Son, Holy Spirit, you are the supreme ruler and controller of the universe. You are life itself. I ask you by your authority to overshadow this country by the authority of your life. Ephesians 4 verse 30 said, the Holy Spirit is God's mark of ownership of our persons and our properties, a divine guarantee that God will set us free. I then pray, O Almighty God, as you overshadow us, by the authority of your living Spirit, set us free and give us the freedom from ourselves, so that the emerging Spirit of truth that is appearing will possess the world. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Father, very Reverend Father, Professor Bonachristus Umeogu. And of course, dear esteemed viewer, that is where we come to the end of today's edition of Religious Philosophical Program. Another episode promises to be captivating. Of course, another cut of this one, of this very episode. I am Jude Mascot Biago. Thank you for being part of it on behalf of the producer, Patience of Biobolo, and all the colleagues here that have actualized the program, getting across to you. Bye for now. Till next week.